Hi, everyone. I want to speak to you today about one of the hardest challenges for leaders in digital transformation initiatives. Hi, I'm Isaac Sacolick. I've been a CTO, I've been a CIO for over 20 years. I've led many digital transformation initiatives across multiple industries. I have over 1,000 articles published on transformation topics and 2 books published on digital transformation. So when I say this is one of the hardest things for leaders to face, I really do mean it. And it's because at any given time, I'm going to have a strategy around my digital transformation. I'm going to come up with a set of initiatives. These are going to continue to evolve, right? What we were focused on a couple of years ago around digital transformation may have been hybrid working and automating more of our processes as we were working more remotely. Today, we're focused more on AI initiatives and how AI is impacting our future of work, how it's impacting our operations, and how it will be impacting our customer experiences. So every couple of years, I'm going to evolve my strategy. I'll have a new set of initiatives. I'm going to come up with a vision statement. I'm going to come up with a charter around it. I'm going to look and I'm going to find that I have some supporters who are really interested, who are looking for the benefits of my transformation initiative. They're going to help their operations. Maybe they're going to help grow revenue or improve customer experience. So they're really involved and they're really excited about what I'm doing. I'm going to have other people who, they're going to play a little bit of a wait and see game. They'll join my team. They'll get involved and get their work done. And I know I have some work to do to really get them excited and super supportive around the initiative that I have. And then I have always a group of people. They may be sitting right up in front when I do my first town hall around the initiative, or they may be well in the back of that room. They're sitting there with their arms folded. They're looking kind of down, and I know they're not on board with this program. There are people I call detractors. They can be very, subversive. They can be unsupportive at first. They're wait and see. They may not be very enthusiastic, but they're not going to be very vocal about what's going on. They're going to maybe antagonistic, right? They really don't see what it's in it for them. They have other things they'd rather be working on. Their incentives are misaligned, or they might even be subversive, right? They're really looking to scuttle the project or scuttle the initiative. They don't believe in it. They think there's a better way of doing something. So there's a lot of reasons why having a game plan around handling detractors is really important, because they can show up early when I'm trying to get funding for my initiative, and maybe they're not on board with it. Maybe they want to see the funding go somewhere else. Maybe they like the status quo and they're incentivized by it. Or maybe they're going to wait until the initiative is 20, 30, 40% along the way and start creating doubt and uncertainty about what I'm trying to accomplish. This can come in any kind of initiative I've ever run. It could be in a customer facing initiative. I'm building a new mobile app to improve somebody's experiences. It can be in a program just to be more efficient around updating electronic health records, or getting more data driven around some of the finances that we're trying to put in place in a construction company. All those types of initiatives at any given day are going to have people who are really supportive and people who may be preferring to see the status quo running. So as a transformation leader, I really need to figure out how I'm going to get them on board. Now, there are different levels of detractors. This is really important because we got to handle this type of challenge with different tools and at different levels. I might have what I call customers or end users who are going to be part of the change management program, and they may be supportive, or maybe they'll be detractors around the initiative that I'm trying to move forward with. I'm going to let a change management program handle that. All right, that change management program has to have special ways of handling people who are super supporters and people who are detractors. But ultimately, these are customers, these are end users, and I'm going to make sure somebody on my team, when I talk about having a charter, somebody on my team is in charge with that change management program, and somebody specifically is handling different types of detractors that are part of the program that we're trying to influence. So those are detractors that are part of the program. I may have teammates, right? They're on my agile teams. They're working with me. They may be technologists. They may be marketers, anybody on the team. And there's always some disagreement about approaches around priorities. And I want a healthy amount of disagreement, what I call collegial debate around what our priorities and how we're getting things solved for. But ultimately, I need teams to make decisions. And when there are detractors on teams and they're preventing decisions from being made, those detractors can really slow a team down and actually reduce the amount of energy on the team. So again, I'm going to go back to my program leaders, to my delivery leaders, those that are most part of the program, running that program and saying, how are you going to get this group on board? How are we going to handle this team that's struggling to make decisions? And I'm going to look at it at that level and saying, this is a collaboration effort that I need to have a program for to ensure that teams can debate, but then decide. Now, the hardest part of handling detractors are at the executive level. Okay, and that's what I really want to talk to you about today. It's the hardest problem to solve for because maybe they're at your level, maybe they're a level above, or maybe they're all the way up at the executive level, and you may not be able to directly influence them. They may have misaligned incentives. They may have bonus structures and payment structures and reward structures that are misaligned with your objectives because they're running today's business and you're coming in and trying to transform today's business into something else. There's a misalignment right there, and there's a timing issue about how executives change the incentives in their organizations. They may have different drivers, different priorities. They may think the strategy is flawed and you can't change the strategy. You're only a part of that strategy, but they may feel very strongly that the wrong businesses are getting investments or the wrong part of the operations are getting investment and maybe very vocal about it. The most other one that you see maybe not as antagonistic is, they may not be benefiting from your transformation program, but they may be impacted by the change. All right. And so when there's an impact of the change in a group, but they don't see any benefit of it, some of them are going to be good citizens and really help you along. And other times they're going to be detractors and slow you down. So 3 different reasons why you might have detractors at your level or levels above you. And that can be very challenging for a transformation leader to figure out how to quiet the noise, get some supporters, and make sure that you can continue moving your transformation forward. So I'm going to leave you 3 ways of handling this type of issue. Okay. First and foremost, this is probably the most important thing that you have to have in your transformation program. We're going to have a whole session just around communication strategies. But what I find is leaders who are investing in their communication strategies around their transformation initiatives, updating them on people on priorities, writing to the different levels of the organizations and different audiences in their organization, updating them on what's working and maybe what's not working. If you don't have that basis of frequent communications, it's going to leave some people in doubt about what's going on. And when there's doubt and a detractor sees a gap, they're going to look at it and say, there's a problem here. And if they're not aligned with the program to begin with, they're going to take advantage of that and say, there's a problem with this initiative. And now you're playing defense. So number 1, play offense with your communication strategy. I find that it handles detractors before they become really vocal, minimizes the issue because you're constantly not only communicating, but at the right times, you're marketing and you're even evangelizing your success. So that's rule number 1, communicate really well. Number 2, you should always be investing in the relationships with other departments, with other leaders in your organization, particularly to, reports of executives, secondary reports to executives. The worst thing that you could do is try to take an executive who is misaligned with your objective and is a detractor and try to convert them over, particularly if you're a couple levels down from them. But what you can do is maybe have a relationship with them before them or even during your initiative that has nothing to do with your initiative, or maybe develop one with somebody who is a direct report or a secondary report to that person. That level of influence may damper their feelings. They may play, let's see if you could have some success. Let's see where this is going. And so, that's not necessarily the best answer, but it's a better answer than handling a detractor who's clearly vocally against what you're trying to handle. So number 2, really focused on developing your relationships. And number three, when we talked about charters on digital transformation initiatives, I said there's at least three people that should be in your charter. Your product manager, who's really steering the ship in terms of objectives and priorities, your delivery leader, who's steering the ship in terms of being able to execute and plan and run transformation, and somebody I just loosely called an executive sponsor. They have different roles around the budget, around developing the business case, and a very important role for them is handling vocal executive detractors. When you sign up a sponsor for your program, you want to make sure you have somebody at that level that can go and communicate one or two levels up from where you are when there is a problem, and maybe even a third level above that when required. You need to be able to go to your sponsor and say, look, I'm not getting support from sales. I'm doing a customer facing initiative. I need sales to put me in front of a dozen customers so I can do some research around it. I'm not getting that support from them. I need operations to change several steps in their operations so we can collect more data. I'm not getting support from them. These are the kinds of things that eventually you're going to have to call on your executive sponsor to play a role in if you're really having a hard time with detractors and they're not following through on what you're asking them or what you need them to do, or they're becoming vocal around it. So do all three of them. Invest in your communications. Number one. Number two, always building relationships. And number three, choose the right executive sponsors who understand their role and can participate and collaborate with you when you're having a serious issue around detractors. So that's a brief introduction on around handling detractors. Again, that's at the executive level. You're going to find detractors on your teams. You're going to find detractors when you're trying to roll out your initiatives. You need to have programs in your communication strategies and how you're collaborating and how you're running adoption programs to get them on board. But the hardest thing is around working with executives, and that's why I'm leaving you three important tips around this. Hope you find this useful, and we're off to our next session.